Today I fucked up by working on my sexual endurance and almost dying. NSFW. I am on a work trip that will last about 3.5 months. At this time, I will be away from my wife and we will both be not having sex until I come home, sometime in December. It is also important to state that I have some heart issues and am currently on blood thinners. I want to prep to have some mind-blowing sex when I come home, so I have been training to hold my orgasm. Over the weekend I had to make a long drive and didn't have time to give it a wank. Today was the first time since Thursday, 4 days, with no wank. I went to the bathroom to do the deed and decided to lay in the filled tub while doing it. After edging for 55 minutes, I crossed the point of no return. I could feel an immense pressure build up, and I inadvertently aimed my rifle at myself. The pressure from no wanks and the edging turned my first part of the load into a Mach 1 projectile. This projectile shot right to my eye, and I literally gave myself a facial. But then it got worse, my eye started burning and I could feel my contact fold into my eyelid. I panicked to get out of the tub to a towel, and ended up slipping on the tile and whacking my head on the edge of the tub. The next moment I am laying on the ground, dried cum on my face and eye, and something sticky on my head. From whacking my head on the tub, I cracked my head open and there was blood everywhere. I could still feel the blood wet on the back of my head and I felt sticky all over. Then suddenly I was getting very dizzy. I crawled out of my room and pounded on my door asking for help. Next time I woke up, I was in an ambulance heading to the hospital. One of the service maids heard me pounding on the door and opened the door to see me naked and covered in blood, and she called 911. According to the EMTs. The EMT said I was lucky I made it to the door, since I was losing a lot of blood still. There was a small pool by the door. He also said he cleaned up the blood and other secretions from my face. So here I am, leaving the hospital, knowing that the hotel staff and paramedics saw me covered in blood after giving myself a facial. Too long didn't read, edged too hard, rubbed it out, blasted eye with cum and slipped on tile floor trying to get a towel. Hit head and almost died of blood loss due to blood thinners. Sorry if this is ramble. Why? I am very much so mentally lost from the crazy ride today. Edit number 1. Hey guys, I talked to my boss and he's sending someone out to relieve me from work for a month. I was told to work remotely at home while I rest and recover. To the people asking for pictures of my head, I'll have my wife take pictures when I am home. I am actually worried she will see this post and connect the dots, as she is a Redditor, but does not frequent this subreddit, and I didn't expect this to blow up. But I like to live dangerously, so the show will go on. One of the service maids heard me pounding on the door and opened the door to see me naked and covered in blood and cum. I imagine her looking around the room for the guy that nutted on the op's face and then hit him on the head. Imagine dying as the guy who gave himself a facial to death. At least you didn't come so hard you shit yourself. Happened to someone I know. Someone I know, right? Whacking my head. Not the only thing you whacked. It's all fun and games until someone gets jizzed in the eye, get their contacts folded in and hit their head on the tiles. Today I fucked up by swatting a stinging bug in my bed, barehanded. Going to bed yesterday, in the dark, something stung my foot as I slipped under the covers. As I sat up and reached for the light, it stung my other leg, then moved up to my thigh and stung again. Lights on now. I reached down and began swatting at it and attempting to swipe it away from me with my hand. Each time I tried to find the culprit, it would viciously sting my hand. I discovered that it was hard and at least a couple of inches long. I was thinking scorpion or one of those giant man-eating bees invading the northwest. 3 stings on the hand and I had located it. It was under the sheet. 2 more stings as I attempted to kill it while it was still trapped. Finally and reluctantly, I pulled back the sheet, ready to deal with whatever monstrosity escaped. It was a damned sewing needle, sticking halfway out of the mattress, and I'd been repeatedly stabbing myself with it. Too long didn't read, mistook a sewing needle in my mattress for a stinging insect. Repeatedly stabbed myself trying to swat it away with my hand. Looks like you finally got the point in the end. Once I was putting on a pair of shorts, when something kept sticking me in my behind. I thought it was a lost plastic price tag or a needle, stuck my hand down my shorts, and dragged out a freaking scorpion. This was only one time I got stung, as we were infested with them for a couple of summers. Thankfully I'm not allergic, and they weren't poisonous or venomous, whatever you call it, just hurt like hell. The scorpion let me out. Smooth, real smooth. Cha-cha real smooth. I once mistook a wasp for a pin in my bed. The error became agonizingly clear when I grabbed something with hairy legs. My sister came in after hearing me scream and killed it. I think it got me 3 or 4 times before I got out of bed. For years, I pulled down the covers to check carefully before getting into bed. Yo, wasp sneak attacks are the absolute worst. A wasp once crawled into a hoodie I had left in the backseat of my car. I threw it back on when I got home from work and got all the way to my bed for a nap before class when this fucker decided to string me 3 times in my right arm. I was just screaming with no idea what was going on for the longest 30-45ths of a second of my life. I ran downstairs and wriggled out of the hoodie for it to escape and promptly get killed by my mom. Lol. I never leave hoodies in my car during spring/summer anymore. I'm losing my mind, this is so fucking funny. Glad you're okay despite it all, Lamau. Today I fucked up by identifying the wine used in Catholic communion. This story happened in 2004, I'm posting it because I was asked to by my family. This story is told all the time in my life by my parents, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm British with a Welsh dad and Portuguese mum. Mum wanted me raised to not be a stereotypical British teenager sneaking out lying about going to a mate's house and passing out from drinking vodka in a field, so she got me drinking tiny amounts of wine at dinner time from the age of 5/6. We're talking a shot of wine, no more. They learned their lesson after I got shit-faced aged 5 off of brandy. Story in the comments. Me being autistic got super into this and wanted to try all the different red wines we had, and I asked lots of questions. It became a little special interest of mine when I was 8. For those who are unfamiliar, if you're not baptized into the church as a baby, you can do a combo baptism/first Holy Communion as a kid through Catholic school. I did this in primary school so I would have a place at the best secondary school in my city, which happened to be Catholic. Like weddings, you have a dress rehearsal for the first Holy Communion, with the priest. It's a whole goddamn mass, except instead of 300 people in the big-ass church, it's the 10 or 20 people in the ceremony and family/godparents to be as well. So being a dress rehearsal, there's a full communion with the wine and wafers to be top-lad Jesus' blood and body. I was doing so good at being a normal kid during the ceremony until this part. Then it was special interest activation mode. See, the priest doesn't really expect kids having communion to drink the wine, they expect you to hold the goblet and give it back. Well, not me, and not this time. I swirled that goblet, sniffed it, said wait, this is familiar, had a sip, shrieked, and turned to my parents jumping yelling, Mum, Dad, this is Blossom Hill. It's that Grenache we had last week. My parents have never been so fucking humiliated in their lives. We bailed the rehearsal, was told to be silent during the real one, and shortly moved churches. I think the priest thought I had the devil in me and was some alcoholic kid, because the bastard tried to drown me during the official baptism, and there's a video of me coughing my guts up. Lamau. TL, doctor, my parents got me an autistic kid to develop a special interest in wine which bit them in the ass when I got baptized and had my first communion at church. Edit, due to a comment bug, the brandy story is an addendum here. Brandy story. When I was 5, I kept getting recurrent bronchitis. It lasted over 6 months. The antibiotics just weren't curing it and they had to keep getting stronger ones. It tasted of fake banana and the texture of it was giving me autistic meltdowns. My dad could not rationalize a 5-year-old to keep taking the antibiotics, so he started experimenting to try and make it palatable. First he added sugar. Still gross. Then fruit squash. Still gross. Tried another batch with fruit juice. Even worse. At this point he was losing the will to live and probably losing interest in me living, and so desperate times call for desperate measures. Final form of this ring of fire bronchitis medicine, the secret ingredient, brandy. Lots of brandy. Did I like it? Hell no, but it knocked me out cold, so it gave him the goddamn peace and quiet he wanted. Stereotypical British teenager sneaking out, lying about going to a mate's house and passing out from drinking vodka in a field. That hit a bit close to home. Lol, there were lots of kids like that in my schools. We all grow up differently. Thing is, none of that crowd wanted to hang out with the autistic boffin that was me. This alcohol training was so unnecessary. I just love the lack of a comma in the too long didn't read, that makes it sounds like they gifted you an autistic child. Honey, I was the gift to my parents XD. I tell them all the time they got really lucky with me. There were blips like this where I was their worst nightmare, but I was so easy to raise. All I wanted was a quiet private space and food to read, study and play video games. That was the same from the age of 6 through to now. Never had a rebellious phase, never had an issue with grades, and you always knew where I was. I would put myself in lockdown for weeks during school holidays. So when we really were in lockdown and Boris said we had to stay at home, it was just everyday life to me. I do stay at home. I spent my furlough time replaying games of my youth and eating. Sign me up for a second lockdown. This is incredible and made me laugh so hard. I'm glad to know I'm not the only person with a childhood church wine story. I grew up Catholic too, and like you said, they don't really expect the kids to drink the wine. Not me. I would always take a big sip when I went up, and I always felt warm after. My kid brain was confused because I didn't always agree with the things I was being taught, so I questioned my belief in God, but at the same time, I was 1000% certain that warm feeling was God. Like so entirely certain. It didn't click in my brain until recently that it was the huge gulp of wine I take, and not necessarily God. Feel so silly even typing this out now, but your story reminded me so much of mine that I thought you might get a laugh out of mine too. My parents got me an autistic kid to develop a special interest in wine. This is why punctuation is important. Have you considered a career being a sommelier? You probably have a head start. I have considered it at times. I ended up doing undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in prehistoric archaeology.